but I'm glad you're feeling better.
Yeah, I'm a lot better now. So here we go. Now here we are with Surrender
Okay, here we
Susan
are.
and Myrna.
Hi, this is Susan Michel. I am here in Western Massachusetts with my good friend Myrna Skoller in Boca Raton, Florida. How are you, Myrna?
Very well. Yeah, now especially that we're connected and talking to each other, and it's always very nice.
Yes, it is. Whenever I connect to you, I can always feel my vibratory frequency rise up. So that's a very good thing. You have that effect on people. You raise their vibrational frequency because I can just feel the love even on Zoom. I am the author of Surrender to Joy, From Suicide to Serenity. And Myrna is the author of Private Lessons with Jesus, based on A Course in Miracles lessons, which is such a uh, wonderful practice to read Myrna's lessons alongside the Course in Miracles lessons. And Myrna is also the author of Love's Chosen Destiny, which I am reading and I love.
Do
It's
you?
so
You
well
reading it?
written.
Really?
I
What
am
part
reading
are
it.
you up to?
Um, I will probably have to get back to you on that because I started, I'm not very far into it yet.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. It gets more and more intriguing, and there are a couple of surprises in there too. So it's yeah. Anyway, well, this
And we
is
are both what, Myrna?
no. I'm saying this particular book is very different from anything I've ever done. It's really a romance novel, so it was interesting putting my thoughts into that, into that fantasy world and coming up with the story. It was very challenging and wonderful. Yeah.
Well, yeah, you're very good with words. You're an excellent writer, and yeah, that's such a beautiful gift to have. How many books have you written? Five?
Excuse me.
How many books have you written in total?
Well, the first was called A Miracle on 81st Street, and that
Hmm.
was about my business in New York City, about the designer resale store that I had. And the subtitle is A Girl's Dream. And that came from Catherine Zeta Jones, who was shopping in my store. And she smiled and she said, "This is a girl's dream." So I got the subtitle from that. I was really elated with that response. So that was my first book. And that book really did very well because it was on the counter of my business, and people would, because it was my book and I had written it, I was the author, and here I was, I had also featured it in my store. A lot of those copies sold, and the rest of it, really, the next one was not Private Lessons with Jesus, was Letters to Heaven and Back,
Mm.
and that was it's a connection with my deceased husband Charlie, and also Jesus. And then came Private Lessons with Jesus. Oh, before that came Pandemic Pandemonium. And I wrote all about the way I was seeing the pandemic at the time, which is interesting because a lot of that is coming to light now, even though I wrote it 3 years ago.
We
So,
have that book. My husband ordered that book.
oh yeah,
Yeah, we have that book.
mm, anyway. So, and then two children's books.
Oh, two
That
children's
includes
book and Love's Chosen Destiny is your fifth adult book. Plus, you have two children's books, so you've
yeah,
written seven books.
6 books with that one. Uh, Miracle on 81st Street, then came Letters to Heaven and Back, then Pandemic Pandemonium, and now this book. And
Love's Chosen
four,
Destiny. Wait, okay.
yeah, Love's Chosen Destiny, that's four, right? And two children's books, that's six.
Gotcha.
Anyway.
Wonderful, wonderful. So, on that note, I will we let's start today's talk. What I usually do is I read the introduction of my book, or
Okay.
I quote the introduction of my book to get my mojo rolling. I mean, the introduction of A Course in Miracles states nothing real can be threatened, nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. It's a non-dualistic thought system telling us that only the love is real. So when we are aligned with Christ consciousness, when we are plugged into our God socket, when we are extending love, we're going to feel the peace, love, joy, and happiness of God. And that's our true state. Everything else is an illusion. And my introduction states, my passion is God. God is love and joy and beauty. He is all that is good in the world. Everything else is our own miscreation. When we are filled with joy, we are connected to God. When we are not joyful, we have lost our connection to all that is real. This is my message. It can be clarified with 3 simple words: surrender to joy. There is nothing to find. All we need to do is surrender. There is nothing to find in the world because there is no world. The external world that we experience is only a reflection of an internal condition. So projection makes perception. We're always creating our own reality. So it is important to really start off each day from a place of peace. Be still and know that I am God. I am listening to a lot of different podcasts lately. I think I mentioned the one to you that I was listening to today. Today I was listening to Rod Schellberg, whom I love, love, love. He's a big Course in Miracles student. He's a doctor. He talks a lot about death and what happens after we leave our body, how we go to heaven, and it's all a place of peace, love, joy, and happiness. And I loved his I listened to a talk of his on YouTube. Then I listened to him talking on the Next Level Soul podcast, which I'm listening to a lot lately. And then yesterday I was listening to a podcast on from a Buddhist about the importance of meditation and how meditation is all about stilling the mind, because the truth is, A Course in Miracles is not teaching us anything that we don't already know. A Course in Miracles is not teaching us how to get what we want from the world. A Course in Miracles is teaching us that everything we want is within us. God created us with everything that we need within. So A Course in Miracles, it's mind training, and it's about undoing. It's about undoing really what we have been taught by the world. It's not about, goal setting and how to get something. It's about stopping the striving and the struggling, and we learn how to recognize that everything that we desire is within us. So it's about learning to be still, and it's about listening to the Holy Spirit. It's about listening to our deeper guidance. That's what Rod Schellberg actually was speaking about. He was speaking about how he calls himself, he has diagnosed himself, he's a doctor, with divine schizophrenia. He says that schizophrenia of the world is hearing like outside voices, but he doesn't hear outside voices, he hears inside voices. So he's diagnosed himself with divine schizophrenia. He hears the voice of his higher self speaking through him, to him and through him. And many times other people kind of thought he was crazy in terms of what he was saying in the hospital. But as it turned out, when he listened to his higher guidance, he always got the diagnosis right. So it's inspiring me to listen to my own higher guidance and my own inner guidance. And the only way I can hear that guidance is by stilling my mind, because the Holy Spirit is always talking to us, right, Myrna?
Yeah, I like the way you say that, and listening to somebody who really puts, in a way, a different slant on it. If he talks about hearing the guidance within, I'm going to tune into him. His name is Rod Shelberg. I'm going to look at him
Yeah,
because I
yeah.
like that. It's more or less the intrinsic aspect of who he is. When he talks about seeing auras about people who have passed away. He must be very, very interesting. And that's up my alley. And I look for near death experience stories. I kind of, look for the aspect of holiness that's there, but when you bring it into your life and really feel the connection to the holiness, and when you listen to people that can help you even expand on that, it's wonderful. Yeah, I find myself looking for sort of a little the offbeat somehow, but it's very, very helpful. It really is, because it does bring you peace. I was talking to you earlier about, I just love being alive at this time and place now, because I'm seeing things that I feel in my bones. It just unfolding. The miracles are coming to light more than ever. I feel the energy lighter, more attuned to the ether, so to speak, the collective. I just sense that there's so many um, indications that things are getting better in the world. Even though the world is a dream, but we're in the world, and being in the world, being available to all of this good stuff that seems to be coming about everything. We were talking about this guy that was prosecuted and taken to trial because he helped somebody in the subway. It was a big controversial thing, and I was so happy that the jury did the right thing by acquitting him. That I mean, I just people are coming together, doing what's right, and this is, to me, was one indication that this charge never should have been brought against him. He was really defending the people on the train. And when I heard the verdict, I was so happy. And lately, I just love the verdicts I'm hearing. Look what's happening in Syria. Isn't that amazing how everything fell apart? The Assad, who had been in rule for the last 50 years, is now, he's in exile. I mean, and who knows, maybe a new regime will take over and will bring democracy to the people, into the country. At least there's a chance, there's a shot of that. Whereas, under dictatorship, there was no chance. But suddenly, it happened so sudden that nobody was even expecting the outcome. This thing that happened in Syria. So I think the world is coming together in love. And when that happens, when the collective uh, energy is intertwined, you really feel the wonder, the beauty of it.
Well, you can see the beauty in the world so clearly, Myrna, because you're accessing the beauty within. So, because we always see without what we feel within, what we focus upon within. So, I think that's wonderful that you're seeing the beauty in the world. Not everyone can see it, it's there. Um, I know there's a line in my favorite poem, The Invitation by Araya Mountain Dreamer. I want to know if you can see the beauty every day, even when it's not pretty, and you can source your life from its presence. That is what A Course in Miracles is teaching us to do, because no matter what we look at, we can see the cup as half full or half empty. It's where we choose to focus. If we focus on lack, we're going to see lack in the world. If we focus on abundance and we recognize the abundance within our own heart and soul, we are going to see an abundant world. So that's wonderful that you're seeing the beauty in the world. And I know so much of the time I do too. Uh, yeah, different thoughts came to mind as you were talking, Myrna. Um, you know, uh, when I was listening to Rod Schellberg, I did really love his Next Level Soul podcast. I actually met him in person at a Course in Miracles event that I went to that was led by Dove, David Fishman, and John Mundy. And Rod Schellberg was there as a guest, as a speaker. And he's such a kind man. I do remember that. He's a very kind, soft-spoken, intelligent, gentle man, and I really loved his way of being. And there's numerous stories that just really brought me home to my center. He was talking about how he really focuses on the good in everyone that he meets, and he notices that we're all the same. I mean, it's true. We're all the same. He said he had an experience with the President of the United States. And then later that week, he had an experience with a homeless person. And we're all the same. We're just here in this earthly classroom or in this movie set, and we've taken on different roles, but we're all here doing our best to learn the lessons that we were born to learn. And it's true because whenever you talk, no matter who you talk to, if you focus on the beauty within them, they will reflect that back to you because people know where you're coming from when you're relating to them. If you're loving them, they can sense that, and they respond from a place of love. I mean, I had an experience earlier today when I went to Jiffy Lube, to find out about a light that was going on in my car, and I wanted to make sure that there was nothing wrong with my car. And there was this lovely young man, his name was George, that was so nice to me. And I told him how nice he was. And as I appreciated his compassion and his kindness, he just even grew more compassionate and more kind and more nice. So when you respond to the good in other people, they just feel good about themselves. And that's what they start radiating. That's where they start coming from. And when there's someone who's feeling a little funky and you don't acknowledge the funkiness, but you continue to be kind to them, you can feel their energy, or you can see their energy shift. So it's whatever you choose to focus on in another is what you feel within yourself. And it's kind of like a domino effect. If I come from a loving place, well, that's a miracle, right? Because what is a miracle? A miracle is when I can extend God's love to my brother, and anything that comes from love is a miracle. So it's as important to just access that state as often as possible. It's important to let Christ consciousness guide our life as often as possible. Yeah. So, and yesterday, my husband and I, we went to see that movie Wicked. That was basically from The Wizard of Oz. It was the preface to The Wizard of Oz. And it was, I can't say it was great. It was a musical. But I like the message of the movie. I think the singing was great. I think the dancing was great. I will say all that was great. And then the primary message of the movie, just to make a big idea small, was the Wicked Witch of the West was a really talented person who was not wicked at all. I mean, basically, she in the movie, she was portrayed as really having a heart of gold and really caring. She was just born into this green body, and everyone was scared of her green body. But beneath the green body, she was a good, loving, talented person. Have you seen the Wicked movie, Myrna?
No, but we have tickets to see it next Sunday, and it's my granddaughter's favorite movie. She saw the show I don't know how many times. I know that her allowance money was always to buy tickets for the show Wicked. She saw it, and once I went with her. Yeah, from what I remember is that the Wicked Witch was not wicked to begin with. She wasn't born with a wicked heart. She became that way, right? She became wicked after. I mean, that's what the movie The Wizard of Oz shows her as. I mean, it's totally evil, So apparently, we can be made to be that way if we allow it. If we allow it to happen, and somehow I guess she fell through the cracks. I don't really remember the movie itself or the show. I mean, I don't remember the story itself. That's why I want to see it again. Did I love it the first time in the theater? No, I really didn't love it, but I thought maybe the movie had more special effects, and that maybe seeing it for a second time would give me some idea as to what the true message is. I get that it's that nobody is born mean, right? I mean, we're not. We're born holy. We're born with the love that we're created from, and that's what it is. It's an ingredient within us. It's a recipe that God has that makes us completely pure. Okay, we only, I think, come to the destruction of it through our ego. And with the Course in Miracles, as you said earlier, the Course in Miracles really teaches us, just to be open to really who we are. I think for me, the Course in Miracles made me aware of who I am. I was not aware of that at all. I think when I discovered the Course in Miracles, I was going through a time. In fact, I was in my 50s, I remember. I think it hit me at 50 when I was looking for something. I was just somehow needed to sort of gratify this that I wanted to be satiated with God. I wanted to know more about God. I was going to bookstores, and this was before the Course in Miracles. I was reading everything I could find that appealed to me. And then the Course in Miracles came to me because it was supposed to come to me, because the Course in Miracles opened up what I was looking for. And I really believe that Jesus does put you on that path to A Course in Miracles, if that's what you're going to be the best path that you could for that particular time, place, for that particular person. So I really felt that it was given to me, it was gifted to me. And that's why I held true to the Course in Miracles, because it just helped me to really become aware, become certainly open to the truth. And there's only one truth. We know that. And if we know that there's only one truth and we live by it, and what is the truth? The truth is that we are love. Love is the only truth there is. And if you can convey that and feel it and live it, then you begin to get, for me, I'm talking for myself, get deeper into the spirituality that we're given to feel through greater understanding. Right, Susan?
That is right. That is right. I mean, when we step into the truth of who we are, it's a really serene, blissful state of consciousness. And I think that's why we are here in this world. We are here to learn the truth of our being. Again, Rod Schelberg was talking about how he learned to leave his body and travel to other places through a near-death experience that he had as a younger boy. He learned how to get deeply into a meditative state. And I know for myself also, I have been meditating off and on for 35 years now. And when I am in the midst of a good meditation, I mean, it really feels good. I mean, because I feel so blissful. I feel so serene. I feel so connected to God. And I think what God is just the energy of pure love. And you don't have to call this source energy God. You can call it whatever you want to call it, but it's a state of just complete serenity. I mean, A Course in Miracles is telling us to reach this state of unconditional love, we need to forgive our brothers and ourselves totally and completely, because when we are seeing guilt in our brother, we are feeling the guilt in ourselves. And so that is keeping us from the truth of who we are. But when we can forgive our brother and see the innocence in our brother, then we can feel the innocence in ourselves. And that is the state of consciousness that sets us free. We're here, I believe, to access that state more and more often. But again, I mean, forgiveness in the traditional church is about seeing the error in our brother and overlooking it because we are a more spiritual person than they are. So it growing up, I learned that it's about forgiving because I want to score brownie points and get into heaven. I want to get on God's good side, so I'll forgive my brother, but I'm certainly not going to forget about it, because if I forget about it, it could happen again. Where A Course in Miracles is saying, nope, the reason we're forgiving is because the reality, we're not forgiving because we want to appear holy. We're forgiving because what we think happened never really did. So by forgiving, we're seeing through the illusion. By forgiving our brother, we're forgiving ourselves, and we're able to feel our own innocence, and I can see what happens in other people's lives when they choose not to forgive. Because when people choose not to forgive, they see themselves as a victim, and it's a completely different way of seeing the world. And A Course in Miracles teaches that we are never, ever victims, because we are always creating our own reality. So if anything happens to us that is not loving, our way out of that negative vibratory state is through forgiveness. But again, what are we forgiving? We're forgiving an illusion. And we're not necessarily forgiving the other person for their sake, although they might benefit from our forgiveness. We're forgiving the other person for our sake, so we can feel the truth of who we are, so we can access that loving state, so we can plug ourselves into the God socket. Right, Myrna?
Yeah, I love what you just said. You know why? Because it reflects today's lesson perfectly. Today's lesson 244. Today I learned the law of love, that what I give my brother is my gift to me. I mean, you said that, that what we give is really a gift to ourselves. We forgive ourselves. If we can forgive somebody else, then we feel forgiven. It's just, I love the way you put it, because it really, as I say, it really lines up beautifully with today's lesson. I'm going to read today's lesson. This is your law, my father, not my own. This is your law. Okay, you have figured out exactly what's good for me. It's not me that's figuring out what's good for me. It's your law that I have to abide by in order to heal. That's what it tells me. I have not understood what giving means and thought to save what I desired for myself alone. So, the world's understanding is giving is not receiving. If you give, you lose it. Give it, it's gone. But this lesson really drives home the truth that if we give, we're really giving to ourselves. And what greater gift can we give is but love. And then it comes back to us in the form of a miracle. So what greater gift could there be? The world's gifts have nothing to do with the gifts of God. And I've come to learn that. I really have, because I've healed. I've healed my body. I've healed my body by understanding where I'm going wrong, where I'm sort of headed in the wrong direction, and my body becomes a slave to that. And I recently described to you, that I had a situation recently where I was afraid that I was going to get a heart attack because I had just had a heart valve replacement, and it was getting worse because my blood pressure was really erratic. I wasn't feeling well, to the point where I was hospitalized again. So finally, I realized I was doing this to myself. It finally hit me. And why should it have taken so long? I mean, why didn't I? Well, I'm glad this happened, because I was able to see that once I became aware of that truth, that I was doing it to myself, my body healed. My blood pressure is perfect. I feel wonderful. The fear was, well, what if I get a heart attack and there's nobody around to help me? That was what my fear was. But of course, I know that I'm never alone. I have this amazing connection. Amazing. I call it amazing. Everybody has a connection. If they love Jesus, they feel that love in return. And I certainly feel that love. I always have. And that recognition that I'm never alone healed my body. I know that I can heal from anything. This is further proof that we're all responsible for our thoughts. Our thoughts control our body, and if we're not healing physically, there's something in the way that we have to look at and figure out what it is. I'm just thankful that it didn't take me longer to figure that out. I figured, I was able to come to terms with it quickly. Thank God, because I didn't want to, if not, I really probably would have ended up with a heart attack or whatever happened in the hospital that set me back a little bit, put the fear of God in me, so they say. But God also took away the fear. So I just wanted to share that. If you want, you could read another.
Sure. I love what you just shared, Myrna. Thank you so much. I mean, the first thing that you started sharing was that ACIM teaches that the only way to know that we have something is to give it away. That's what I wrote down in response to what you were saying. The world teaches that if we give something away, we lose it. ACIM is teaching that the only way to know how much we have within is to give it away. So when we give something away, we actually get more of what we give away. That's what came up for me in response to what you said. I mean, it's such a radically different approach to what the world teaches. I mean, just think about that. Like the world says, okay, I have $1. I give the dollar away. Now I have no dollars. A Course in Miracles doesn't really talk about material goods because material goods are actually nothing. They're not important. A Course in Miracles is teaching us about the experience of having everything spiritually within us, and spiritual possessions or spiritual stuff is the only thing that's important, because that's the only thing that lasts forever. So when I am not remembering how much love I have access to, when I am feeling the feelings of lack, how do I reconnect to God? What I do is I love my brother. And by extending God's love to my brother, I remember everything that is within me. Because the truth is, when we were born, God gave us everything. We have everything that we need. I mean, you think of the children when they come into the world. I mean, I guess in the beginning they cry, right? Isn't that what I haven't had any children myself in this lifetime, but in the very beginning they cry. But then I guess after that, I mean, they have no needs of any kind. I think I was listening to, again, I think I'm the podcast queen right now. I was listening to Rupert Spira, I think his name is. He's a teacher of non-duality, and he was talking about like babies coming into the world, and they don't even know that they're a body yet. They just come in, and the only thing they know is I guess, the statement, I am. It's not about I am a baby, or I am anything of this world, or I am fat, or I am thin, or I am rich, or I am poor. It's just about I am. And what's the last word? I am. I am God. I am God. And what is God? God is unconditional love. So the truth is, we have everything that we need within us. And if we are feeling lack, basically, it's not about holding on to everything that we have or we think we have. It's like when we're feeling lack, what we need to do is we need to extend God's love to our brother. And when we give God's love to our brother, we remember how much love we have within us to give. And that's just such a beautiful place to connect to. And that's what A Course in Miracles is teaching us to do. You also said that you realized that you were never alone. I mean, that is so true, and it's so beautiful. And whenever we realize that we're never, whenever we acknowledge that we're never alone, we release our fear. It's you can say that in so many ways. I mean, if God is the ocean, we're a wave, but a wave is a part of the ocean. So we can't, even if we want to, disattach ourselves from the ocean. I mean, that's a part of who we are. We can forget that we're a part of the ocean. We can forget that, but we can't get away from the ocean, because the ocean is a part of who we are. God is a part of who we are. We can forget that he is our source, But just because we forget doesn't mean that he is not our source. He's always with us, whether we can remember that or not, whether we can acknowledge that or not. Um, and you also mentioned that we are responsible for our thoughts. And that is what A Course in Miracles tells us over and over again. You know, A Course in Miracles tells us that we are much too tolerant of mind wandering. The Course is a course in mind training. It's about focusing on the love, focusing on the truth as often as possible. And like, how do we know? How do we know that our mind is focused on love? How do we know that we're connected to God or plugged into our God socket? I mean, it's a lot by how we feel. Like, are we feeling at peace or are we feeling angst? When we're feeling at peace, we're remembering the truth of who we are. And when we're feeling angst, we're disconnected from our God socket. But God is always, always, always available to us. And it's up to us to just remember that, you know, to remember that as often as possible. So I love the fact that you brought the lesson of the day into our talk. And um, the third sentence, I think, is where you left off. Christ writes, Jesus writes, and as I looked upon the treasure that I thought I had, I found an empty place where nothing ever was or is or will be. Who can share a dream? And what can an illusion offer me? Yet he whom I forgive will give me gifts beyond the worth of anything on earth, beyond the worth of anything on earth. Let my forgiven brothers fill my store with heaven's treasures, which alone are real. Thus is the law of love fulfilled, and thus your sun arises and returns to you. So Jesus is telling us here that when we forgive our brother, we will receive the gifts of God. And the gifts of God are all about acknowledging our innocence. Right, Myrna?
Yes, it's about acknowledging our innocence. Our innocence is, we came into the world innocent. We've always, excuse me, let me have a drink. That helps.
Hmm.
Yeah, our innocence has always been. It's never been any other way. We've always, through eternity, been innocent. And we come into the world that way. Sometimes we just unlearn that innocence through our own experiences. And then if we're lucky enough to relearn it again, as we have, then we can then understand. And who knows, maybe I never would have looked to find my innocence if I didn't go through places of guilt and condemnation, and that is really a hellish experience. We're living in this world in hell if we don't discover who we truly are and remain in the ego's clutches, which does nothing but give us greater grief. I mean, it says right here that who can share a dream, and what can an illusion offer me? Yet there's something I was looking for that I kind of Anyway, I don't know. I'm looking in this paragraph. It's all beautiful. It really is. But as I continue to say that, that we are shown that we're living in illusion, because if our mind can change our demeanor and our body's illnesses, then it has to be an illusion. We have to then understand that we have control, which again, I learned that lesson very clearly again, not long ago, very recently. So it's a matter of forgetting and being reminded and reminding ourselves that we have the power, that we're not, creatures of victims. We're not victims. We are all powerful. And, we don't think of ourselves that way until various experiences come into our life that we learn from. And if we can learn from our mistakes, that's all the more reason to have those mistakes and to become aware of, what the mistake was. And travel a long way sometimes before you find it. It can happen in an instant, yes, but it doesn't usually, does it? I mean, that instant is that moment that we realize it. Hey, that's the instant. So it can happen if we allow it to happen in that one instant. But it's more, for me and the people I've known, it's more of a journey. And you travel that journey and you ebb and you flow and you gain and you lose, and you really come to various different aspects of what you need to learn and how you need to learn it. And sometimes learning can be painful, although the Course in Miracles says it need not be painful. But it is sometimes painful because we reject the truth of who we are, and that's painful. And we don't realize that we're bringing it on ourselves. So I'll let you take it from here, Susan. My throat is getting dry, I think.
I love that, Myrna. I love that. I mean, I love what you said. We learn more from our mistakes than from our successes much of the time. I mean, when we think of life, and when we are experiencing hardship, I mean, so many times God is happy because it's just a process of bringing our darkness to the light so that healing can occur. There's a line in A Course in Miracles that we think some of our biggest the mishaps are failures, but sometimes we learn more from the mishaps than we do from our successes. Sometimes we're learning more from our mistakes than from what we consider to be a success. I mean, we don't always know what's good for us. So it's just so important to trust the process. I know whenever I can go to a place in my mind where I am able to trust exactly what's unfolding in my life, that's when I feel the peace of God. If I'm going through a challenging time, if I can just trust that I'm in the right place, I can connect to God, connect to the God within. I have this mantra that I say sometimes: what if everything is just perfect right here, right now? And it's about accepting every moment exactly as it is, and knowing that if it's joyful, well, then life is good. And if it's challenging, that's okay too, because there's something that my soul needs to learn. I was again listening to this one speaker on the Next Level Soul podcast. Her name was Rhea, and she was a South African woman, and she was talking about, like, in the beginning of her life, having a lot of emotional challenges to overcome. She was a victim of incest. She was a victim of rape. She was always feeling victimized. And then as she started getting older and growing out of that victim mindset, what she started doing is when she was triggered by the world, instead of running from the pain, she would actually step into the pain. And by doing that, she was able to transcend the pain. That's why Dove always says our triggers are our teachers. So what we need to do is when we are triggered by the world, instead of running away from it, instead of blaming the other person, instead of blaming the circumstance, we can ask ourselves, okay, what is the universe teaching me through this trigger? Like, nothing can trigger us unless there's something within us that has not yet been healed. So that's why the triggers in life are our teachers. So when the life triggers a pain point, instead of running away from it, instead of going to something to try to avoid it, whether that be a substance or alcohol or shopping or working out, instead of doing something to avoid the pain point, just kind of go into that pain point, and you will find that's how we'll heal ourselves. And I just believe that wholeheartedly. So I think it's important in life to just realize that our triggers are there to teach us. And once we can transcend our triggers, then we're going to get closer to God. We're going to get closer to love. We're going to get closer to the truth of who we are. And love is always there. Love is always there. You know, I was watching another movie. There's so many beautiful scenes in movies. Run All Night, I think, was the name of this movie. It was a movie with Liam Neeson, with Ed Harris. I'm trying to think who else was in it. But there was this one scene, and I always give away movies when I talk about the lessons in the movies, but there was this one scene where Liam Neeson's character had to kill Ed Harris's character, because if Liam Neeson didn't kill Ed Harris, then Ed Harris was going to kill his son. So he had to kill his best friend. And so Liam Neeson killed Ed Harris. So Liam Neeson killed his best friend. And then what he did is he walked over to Ed Harris and he held Ed Harris in his arms as Ed Harris died. And even though he just killed him, he knew how much he loved him. And I mean, that's such a brilliant analogy for life. You think, how angry we get sometimes at circumstances, at other people, but when we can get to the other side of the anger, I mean, the truth is we are all seeking for love, and we all really love each other so much, and it's to acknowledge that love. Like, I love the scene in the movie, like he literally killed his best friend, and then as his best friend was dying, he just held him in his arms, and it was clear by how they were holding each other how much they loved each other. So
Well,
love was on the
why
other
did,
side of the fear.
okay, I have a question. Why did Ed Harris have to kill Liam Neeson's son? What was
Yeah,
that?
Liam
Especially if it was his
Neeson.
best friend.
Yeah, Liam Neeson and Ed Harris were best friends. Liam Neeson killed Ed Harris because if Liam Neeson didn't kill Ed Harris was going to kill Liam Neeson's son. Yeah, I'd have to go into intricate details about the movie, but the movie is called Run All Night. It's a great movie. It's on
I'm
Netflix.
curious. Interesting. Yeah, I love to get my hooks into a good movie. I really do. And sometimes it's very hard to find a good movie, especially one that really resonates, with what we're looking for. Everything seems to be, so violent. For a while, all I could find were violent movies. I didn't want to watch any of those. but I think if you kind of look, into the haystack, you find movies that really do have a message, have an interesting message to give. Yeah, I'm trying to think if I've seen anything lately, except to say that I really haven't seen anything that I can, that I can write home about. But I'd love to find good movies. I'm going to look for that one, the one you just spoke about. Yeah, I mean, things happen every day. Look, even the news, you watch the news, and it's a story, isn't it? It's a story. It's an unfolding story. It's like a soap opera. It goes on and on and on. And, I was never really much of a news watcher. But I have become so intent on the news because I find that it's just so fascinating. Look what's happening. I mean, things are happening today that have not happened in lifetimes. I think, I think that the news today it shows, the world, the way the world is changing, and it's changing so radically and so rapidly. And I just kind of think that's why I say this is a wonderful time to be alive, because to see the world and people come together, and that's what I'm feeling really. It just is giving me a lot of interesting concepts, and a lot of which I agree with. And I think that if we can love our politicians more and more as time goes on, and this is a whole new change coming about, and with new politicians, new thoughts, new ideas, new challenges. Everything is new. There's just the old, gone with the old, and now we're bringing in the new. And I'm just curious to see where we are all going. And I believe we're all going towards understanding that there's more love in the world than we thought there was. There's more love in the world that we were connected to. Now it's more, I just feel it. I feel people with one goal. Everybody wants to be happy. They want peace. They want good for their children. And I think that is the majority. Yes, you hear a lot of rhetorical things coming from left wing. I don't mean left wing politics. I mean, out of left field. I'm talking about, and
Right-minded and loving politicians.
yes, what is that?
Right-minded and loving. Right-minded and loving.
Yes, right-minded and loving, absolutely. And that's what we pray for, right? And I think we're going to see it. Right.
Yes. Well said, Myrna. Well said. I'm taking notes on what you just conveyed. Very wise. You're a very wise and beautiful and spiritual teacher, and I learned so much from you. Understanding that there's more love in the world than we thought there was. Yes, there is just so much love in the world. So it's really up to us to focus on that. And it's very clear that, you are seeing the beauty in the world, and you help me become aware that there is so much beauty in the world. And I'm so grateful for your time here with me and gather for A Course in Miracles. And I am so grateful for this platform. I'm so grateful for A Course in Miracles. And as A Course in Miracles says, nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. The only thing that's real is the love. Everything else is an illusion. Thank you for being here with me today.
Thank you.
And our time is up. It's 4:00, just about. And I will return the microphone to Lynn.